Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of X. My name is Daniel and joining alongside me is Anthony. Hello, Anthony.
Hi, Daniel. I thought you were going to say you're joining alongside me, your fellow X-rated superstar.
Not today, because I don't...
I want to be an X-rated adult star.
I don't doubt that you have the talent for it. I just don't think that this show is the platform to showcase it.
What's the talent for an adult film star? A male adult film star.
I can think of one really important thing, and it is personality. Yeah. The movie today we are talking about is X. It is directed by Ty West. It stars Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Martin Henderson, Brittany Snow, Owen Campbell, Stephen Uri, and Scott Mescudi, a.k.a. Kid Cudi. This film releases in theaters March 18th, and I want to say thank you to our friends at VVS for inviting us to watch it. In the States, you could also watch it on Friday, released via A24. How are you doing, though, Anthony? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Coming out of this movie made me think about life and not to go to like any stranger's house. Airbnbs right now are just a no.
Yeah,
for me.
If you're going to an Airbnb where somebody is staying there or living, that's a different story. But we're going to talk all about that very soon because, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. We have a brand new episode out right now that you can listen to, and you can also catch our reviews throughout the week on all the latest movies and series. Make sure you're following us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd, and YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, join our Discord, and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. I did want to highlight YouTube. Anthony has taken the reins of the old This Time With YouTube channel. It is now youtube.com/TheMoviePodcast. So if you want to go back and watch all of our old reviews before we were even the Movie Podcast, you could do it there. But you could also listen to everything that we've been reviewing recently and check out the great work that Anthony's doing there.
Please subscribe. Listeners, I know there's a lot of you. Just go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Because I need you to subscribe. It's
that simple. The link is in the show notes below. So make sure you follow that and you follow us everywhere else on the Movie Podcast because you want to hang out with us. You want to be with us on the show, and we know you love us because we love you, and that's it. I almost started going to the Barney song for some reason.
I thought you were going to cry for a second.
I was getting there. I got some announcements for you this week. We have some great reviews out right now. The Adam Project, Turning Red, The Batman. We also have our Batman spoiler cast. We have some interviews with the director and producer and some of the stars of Turning Red as well too on our feed. So there's always something to listen to on the Movie Podcast. Definitely check it out. You could also hear our interview with Mike Marino, who is the prosthetic makeup designer on the Batman. He transformed Colin Farrell into the Penguin, and he's also nominated for an Oscar next week, or 2 weeks from now.
Hope to see him on the podium.
We hope to see him on the podium. But today, like I said, this is all about the film X. Anthony, I'm going to get you to start us off with your synopsis.
In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas. But when the reclusive elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast finds themselves fighting for their lives.
So as I said earlier, this is an A24 film releasing here in Canada by VVS. With A24, I think we've come to expect very bizarre, very out there, very different type of horror films that we've gotten in the past. I think this new kind of era of horror films is being defined by films like, Hereditary or The Witch or The Vitch or things like that. So you were having now A24, I think, being the go-to place for what we're looking for movies like this.
Yeah, like the movies that just leave you uneasy at the end of it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is depressing or dreadful of dread or scary. It's kind of a mix of everything. It's not just a traditional slasher, but enter X. And here we are where I feel, from the marketing feels very A24, has a very distinct look to it. But when you kind of get to the inside of that Tootsie Roll, there's a little bit more of a classic slasher vibe to this film. This is going to be completely spoiler free, but Anthony, I want you to start off with your first reaction.
Yeah, going into this, I didn't know what to expect. Usually with an A24 film, you kind of have this idea of I'm going to leave uneasy, and I'm going to leave disturbed.
Like my day is ruined.
And yes, I was disturbed in this film, but this movie actually played out very similar to a traditional slasher flick. You're brought into an environment where very similar to, we'll say, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a house that's in the rural area of Texas, a film crew that's about to shoot an adult film movie.
Yeah, a bit of a porno, as they call it in the 70s.
And there's going to be murders happening. You
would hope in a movie like this,
yes.
Right?
But there are so many undertones to this film. There's religious undertones. There's, just there is comedy as well. There's comedic undertones to it because they're all caricatures of a time. Yeah. From that time.
This movie takes place in 1979. We are in Houston, Texas, and we are in the like you said, we're in the
yeehaw
of
that time period.
Of that time period. Yeah.
And there is, at the root of this movie, there is a love story. There is a love story that's like pretty twisted. I would say. A
tale as old as time, as we like to say.
And I think people will kind of like, when they watch the trailer, they're like, okay, these are adult film stars. They're going to this cabin or this home.
Yeah, they're kind of like, they're like on a ranch almost. Yes. They're on a ranch. Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of sex. There's going to be a lot of kills. But the way the story is told is so different than just what that trailer portrays.
Right.
So I really dug this movie. I dug the whole like setup for it. I just thought it might have taken a little too long to get to the point of the horror aspect of this film. But all in all, I thought it was a really interesting movie. Like, it really makes you think after watching it.
I think what I liked so much about this movie, and of course we're keeping this spoiler free, was our discussion on the way home afterwards, because we drove the whole way home about like 30-40 minutes just talking about this movie and kind of unraveling it, unspooling it, and just getting to the center of that. And I really liked that. And as we were talking about it more, I'm like, shoot, I'm liking this movie more and more and more. Throughout this entire movie, I was just unnerved. The first hour or so, it's slower. It's definitely setting up the characters and who all these people are and who to trust, who not to trust. Like, there's all the things that you would want in like a horror film. But like you said, like, there's a weird twist on this movie. And again, I think the less you know of this movie, the better going into it, because you're going to have a really fun conversation talking about it afterwards. But it's definitely twisted. It's gross. It's gory. It's disgusting. But it's like everything I felt within the film felt earned as well too. Yeah, it never felt gratuitous for gratuitous sake. It was like, no, this is brutal and honest to what would happen in a situation like this, as freaky and unnerving as it is. Everything in this film felt earned and never felt like, oh, this wouldn't work or this wouldn't be possible. It definitely makes you question some things for sure. But I think it's a lot of fun. Like, I actually went into this movie not knowing much about it. I really didn't remember the trailer. I just had I just saw the poster or the frame going around of Jenna Ortega just like screaming, and she has a really great scream.
Yeah, her scream in that film was like
terrifying. It cuts through you. And then she was also great in the movie Scream earlier this year. So she has two back-to-back slasher films this year, so early in the year. But I think everyone, I wanted to talk about the cast in this film. I think everyone was great. I think Mia Goth was my favorite in this film. She was great. She was a great lead in this movie. And you were talking about the religious undertones as well. I think everyone was kind of playing with we're just, at the end of the day, we're just actors making a movie, and it's within this adult film world. It's like we treat it like we're performing. Yeah, we enjoy it, but it's also human to like these things, and to deny that would be unnatural, right? And I like that there was like a great conversation that they had when they were talking about it. And I think it changes the perspectives of some characters too in this movie, where you're just like, listen, this is just a job like anything else. Like, at the end of the day, you do a job, you get paid for it, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? So like, I like, again, it's that whole idea of like, the more I'm thinking about this movie, the more I'm liking it. Yeah, it's completely fucked up and weird.
Yeah.
And there were some scenes where I literally was just like, I was kind of squinting or wincing.
My eyes were wide open.
Yeah, Anthony was just like, do it. I wish this was 4DX and they were spraying blood on me. No, but I wasn't like hiding from it. I was just more wincing at the gore and the violence in it because it definitely takes a while to get there, but when it does, it's like we're letting loose.
They let loose. Mia Goth was fantastic. I think she has such an interesting looking face. She has like you said in the car. She has like an A24 face.
Yeah, like that is a compliment. I promise you, Mia, if you're listening to this,
it is. But like when you see her, there's a little bit of eeriness that goes with her and her presence in this film.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, like the whole cast. Brittany Snow's in it. Kid Cudi does a fantastic job.
Kid Cudi's great. Yeah.
There's alligators in this as well. There's a scene with some alligators, and were
they crocodiles or were they alligators?
I don't know what's what.
I feel like we've had this discussion on the show before, and we've read the definition, and then I forget it every time.
But crocodiles are bigger than alligators, are they not?
I'll take your word for it.
They're more prehistoric than an alligator?
Dude, dinosaurs and alligators, they are dinosaurs regardless. Yeah. They are dinosaurs on Earth.
I would say if you're not good with
gore,
not even gore, but like some of the gore is very real. It feels real.
Very
You have to like be mindful that this movie does like it's pretty gruesome to watch.
Yeah. It's not like a when I think of
it's not like Scream gore.
No, it's full on like this looks like what it would look like if this was to happen in real life. Like
I don't know. Have you seen these things happen in real life?
Listen, Anthony, you don't know what I did before the show.
Very true.
Before the recording today, no, I'm kidding. No, but like it's very like intimate.
Yes.
And it's very just like, oh my God, and that's what made me wince. And I think I like that feeling of the sense of like, oh my God, this is so like unsettling. But it's also like, if you are sensitive to those type of things, just know going into this movie that you may be uncomfortable or it may be a lot. Because there's a lot in this movie that you're like, the body gore is a lot.
And the guy from the Toxic video's in it too.
Yeah.
His name is, what is it? Martin Henderson.
Martin Henderson.
So if you've watched Britney Spears' Toxic,
we know you've watched it.
The gentleman that's on the plane, he's in this film as well. So he plays the producer,
the executive producer,
of the adult film. And it's just nice to see him. Like it's nice to see actors that you don't see a lot be in roles where you didn't expect him to be. Like I would never expect Kid Cudi to be in a horror film.
No, but also I never looked at him as Kid Cudi in this. No, and I think that's what's really nice about this cast is that, especially with A24 films, I think in general, A24 has been really good when it comes to casting their films. And again, this comes down to, I know it's not A24 making these decisions, but it's like the films that they choose to produce don't always have the most recognizable names in it. And I think that really allows you to tell these stories that are going to find an audience and propel these stars to stardom, but also be able just to invest in the story. And like, I never looked at any of these characters in this movie of these are these actors playing this person. Like it just felt like I was in the story. And I think right out the get-go, what this movie does so well is that it just engages you in the story. And yes, the first hour is long because it takes about an hour for things to really start get going. But what that hour allows you at least is to develop a lot of these characters, who they are, what their belief systems are, and just kind of go on this journey. So when things eventually do start happening, you start to feel it more.
Yeah, and right? I would say the beginning sequence of the movie really gets you hooked. Like, I want to know what happens and how it gets to this point. So I think stories that kind of start off that way usually tend out to be, my stories that I would relive or rewatch.
Yeah. And I think, speaking of rewatching, immediately when we were leaving, I'm like, would I watch this again? And then as we were talking about it more, I'm like, damn, I want to watch this again.
It's so funny. We left the this movie and I'm like, would you buy this? We usually do that. Would you buy this movie?
How much would you buy it for?
How much would you buy it for?
Would you rewatch it?
But like 20 minutes into our conversation, we realized, man, this is a good movie. This is a really good movie. And there's so many things that you don't see because you're so blinded by the horror element.
Yeah.
That, there's so many, there's a story with Jenna Ortega's character. And if you really like connect the dots, it makes sense.
Yeah. This is a movie that I think will benefit from rewatches.
Yeah.
And it's also something that it'll, especially knowing what you know at the end of the movie, at the beginning of the movie, you're going to see things differently.
Yep.
And I think it'll be really fun. And this feels like a movie that would be really fun to watch with an audience or watch with your friends, like at Halloween time or something, to see everybody's reactions and just be generally uncomfortable and weirded out, but also kind of when you're scared in a group of people, it's fun. Right. So let's get to our final recommendations. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that please, if you're a fan of the show, drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We're slowly getting to our 200 5-star review milestone. We are about 40 plus reviews away here in Canada. If you are one of our listeners in the United States, we'd love to build up that 5-star world there too. So please, if you love what we're doing on the show, tell your friends, tell your families, drop us that 5 stars, because every rating gets us closer and closer to, hopefully getting accredited on Rotten Tomatoes, so we could get our reviews out there even more and build an audience and really build our movie community. So that would mean the world to us if you could do that. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, and YouTube at The Movie Podcast. One last thing I wanted to say as well too before our final recommendations. This film also filmed a secret prequel, and a sequel was announced. So it's really cool that this is like the second movie in a trilogy already, but we just didn't know it yet.
And A24 doesn't really do sequels.
Yeah, but it's such a strange thing, but I'm here for it. Anthony, start us off with your first and final recommendation for this film.
I would say I came out of this movie saying maybe this would be a stream it. I don't know, but like that conversation we had really opened my mind to the whole movie, and I think a lot of people will like it. So I'm going to say watch it. This is a watch it for me.
I'm so glad that we both are about to give this film a watch it. It's a watch it for me too, because I think this is what the power of a movie like this can do, where there's some movies that you go into it and they're obviously good right from the get-go. And again, we never thought this movie was bad, but there are some movies, I'm going to say like Batman, for example. Every moment of that movie, we were just like, this is amazing, this is amazing, this is amazing. And then we would unravel it afterwards and love it even more. This movie, we left saying, yeah, that was good. But as we were talking about it even more, we're like, oh, wow, like this is really good. And now this is staying on our minds and this is lingering with us. So yeah, it's a watch it for me. I think this is, it's really unique when this happens. And this is kind of, I think, even just our conversation here. I'm like, wow, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I'm glad that we're getting more.
Yeah, I'm so on board for whatever prequel is going to be, whatever the sequel is going to be. Of course, we're not spoiling anything on here. The less you know about this movie, the better. So hopefully, if you made it this far in our review, we haven't given anything away, so you'll be good to go into this film and hopefully check it out this weekend, because it definitely is worth it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to the Movie Podcast review of X. Don't forget, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. We have a new episode out right now that you can listen to, and make sure you check out all of our reviews throughout the week and all the latest movies and series, because we have a lot coming. Make sure you follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, and YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Discord, and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Check out our show notes for all of those links and more. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.